Today, people are playing the quote-unquote greatest hits of Charlie Kirk. It's the left playing what they think are condemning comments that do, in fact, validate that Charlie was all the things they've been yelling for a better part of a decade. They've been saying he's a racist. They've been saying you're a racist. They've been saying you're a transphobe. They've been saying he's a transphobe. And today, going viral and circulating around the internet are Charlie's greatest hits. Let me just ask you, if every single one of those were true, what's your point? If they were all true, why are you talking about them? If he actually were a racist and a bigot and a homophobe and a transphobe, what's the point? Oh, really sad for his wife, really sad for his kids. I don't advocate for violence. But, what do you mean, but? But, his greatest hits. Let's talk about then his greatest hits. Charlie, of course, was a quote-unquote enemy to the trans. Charlie was a transphobe, you're told. Charlie's a horrible human being. Let's together watch Charlie Kirk interacting with a trans person who walked to the front of the line and took the microphone at an event not unlike the one where he was shot in the neck. Here is a trans person talking to Charlie Kirk.
I just want to say I'm a transgender male. What age should kids be able to get things like hormone therapy? Because I don't know what's true, what's not.
Tell me, are you comfortable telling me your story?
I've known that since like 3rd grade, and I'm currently 19, almost 20.
First of all, thank you so much for that.
Yeah, of course.
So I'm going to have an opinion that very few people will ever tell you, which is I want you to be very cautious putting drugs into your system in the pursuit of changing your body. I instead encourage you to work on what's going on in your brain first. I think what you need first and foremost is just a diagnosis. Just someone that is going to listen to what you've gone through, listen to what else is going on. My prayer for you, and again, very few people will say this, I actually want to see you be comfortable in how you were born.
Yeah.
I know that you might not feel that way, but I think that is something that you can achieve. I think that with the right team and the right people, you don't have to wage war on your body. You can learn to love your body.
Now, is that a conversation that is filled with hate, or is that a conversation that is filled with love? How do you define love? Maybe that's what we really need to talk about as a country. How do you define love? Because there is a large percentage of our country that believes the act of love is affirmation. It is enablement of anything and everything. And there is another part of our community that is brave and all too often rare that thinks it's an act of love to tell the truth. Here is Charlie again interacting with yet another trans individual, much more boldly, much more adversarially, and aggressively telling that person the truth.
Through psychiatric care or psychological care, transgenderism is a symptom of other underlying issues. Bipolar tendencies, schizophrenia, anxiety, depression. Instead, with kids, we shouldn't say, oh, we tell them that they have a body problem, when in reality they have a brain issue that they're dealing with that needs counseling and love and compassion. And guess what? Most kids grow out of it. You do not need drugs.
Untrue.
Yes, it is. And
no, it's true. And Charlie told these same truths on a whole host of issues that today are played out of context and with screaming headlines to paint him as just one of the things that they have done and said over the past decade. How about racist? Some of the clips going around are Charlie saying, for example, that if he got on a plane with a black pilot, he would wonder about their qualifications, the implication being that Charlie is a racist. But what he's having a conversation about is a truth put into context about affirmative action. It's a truth that has been said from the bench of the Supreme Court of the United States by Justice Clarence Thomas. When you employ affirmative action and you pursue quotas in service of diversity, equity, and inclusion, you logically create in the populace a question about qualifications. If you say X percentage from X population has to hold X jobs, you're not holding merit across the board. You're manipulating merit. You're lowering your standards. You're calling into question qualifications. Charlie told the truth about affirmative action and its implications, both in reality and in the logical leaps of the human mind. Charlie told the truth about crime, per capita crime rates, when it came to black Americans. Does that make him a racist or a truth teller? And which one is an act of love? The lie to continue to allow murder, or the truth to try to correct the problem starting from a place of reality? Charlie was called a homophobe. He's a hater. He hates gays. Author Stephen King posted that Charlie advocated for stoning gays. Of course, he never advocated for stoning gays. And later, Stephen King had to ultimately post numerous apologies. So how did Charlie think about gays? Well, how about when he was confronted at a culture war conference by an anti-gay Republican?
What if you had your way, what would you do with gay people in America?
What would I do with them?
Yeah, because they're not allowed in the conservative movement. So would you just kick them out anytime they show up at a Republican Party? If you were in charge, like what would you say? You can't be part of the Republican Party.
If somebody is advocating for being openly homosexual, yeah, they should not be part of the conservative movement.
So I just want to go through the list. Guy Benson, no place in the conservative movement. Dave Rubin, no place in the conservative movement. Peter Thiel, no place in the conservative movement. So that just to go down the list.
If they are supporting open homosexuality.
So
yeah, no
I'm going to ask a very respectful question, as respectfully as I can. What does what they do in their private life concern you so much that you have to go up in front of a crowd?
Charlie went on to say, you don't support Donald Trump. But don't get it wrong. Charlie would quote the Bible. He would talk about morality, whether or not he agreed with homosexuality, or whether or not he agreed with marriage biblically, and whether or not it could be anything other than between a man and a woman. But he did so from a place of love, and that's why he had the friendship of Guy Benson and Dave Rubin and Amir Omar, who will be on the Will Cain Show today at 4 o'clock on the Fox News Channel, debunking all of the lies told about Charlie Kirk. All of them gay, Amir Omar, a black gay man. You see, they allow these clips. They allow the screaming headlines to define for the left his greatest hits and who they want him to be. And who they want him to be is only the thing that they've called me or you for a decade. You're a racist. You're a hater. You're a homophobe. You're a transphobe. You're a fascist. But what you don't understand is no one cares anymore. Not the normies. When you stand by, at best and at worst, celebrate murder. Who are you, left?